The night was cold, and the wind carried sharp pieces of snow that danced across the empty road. Daniel, a single father, held his coat tightly around him as he walked back from his late shift. His small town often looked quiet in winter, but tonight the silence felt heavier. The sky was gray, and the only sound was the crunch of his boots on the frozen ground. He kept thinking about his little boy, Adam, who was waiting at home. Adam was only 8, and he never liked sleeping alone. Daniel hurried, wanting to reach him quickly. But as he passed the old park, something caught his eye. At first, he thought it was just a pile of snow. But when he looked closer, his heart skipped a beat. 2 small figures were huddled near the bench, shivering and covered in thin clothes. Their hair was tangled, their hands purple from the cold, and their little shoes were soaked. Daniel froze for a moment, unable to believe what he was seeing. 2 young girls, sitting out in the snow, hugging each other as if their lives depended on it. He rushed forward. "Hey, are you all right?" His voice was gentle, though it shook with worry. The older girl lifted her face. She looked no older than 10, her cheeks red from the frost, her lips trembling. Beside her was a younger one, maybe 6, leaning against her sister's shoulder with closed eyes. The older girl blinked, as if trying to stay awake. "Please," she whispered weakly, "she's so cold." Daniel's heart tightened. He quickly took off his coat and wrapped it around both of them. The younger girl let out a small sound, almost a whimper, and buried herself in the warmth. "You can't stay here," Daniel said firmly, his voice breaking. "Come with me. I'll keep you safe." The older sister hesitated. Fear shone in her eyes, but it was mixed with something else, hope. She looked at her little sister, then back at Daniel, and finally gave a small nod. Daniel carefully lifted the younger girl into his arms. She was so light, as if she had not eaten properly in days. The older one held his coat tightly around them and walked close by his side. Snowflakes landed on her hair, but she kept moving, her small steps quick despite her tiredness. As Daniel walked through the empty streets, he kept glancing at them. His thoughts were racing. Who were these girls? Why were they alone in the snow? Where were their parents? But at that moment, only one thing mattered: getting them warm and safe. When they reached Daniel's small house, the windows glowed faintly from the light inside. Adam had left the lamp on, waiting for his father. As Daniel pushed the door open, Adam came running, his little face brightening until he saw the 2 girls. "Papa?" Adam asked softly, his eyes wide. "Who are they?" Daniel set the younger girl gently on the sofa, covering her with a blanket. She stirred a little but did not wake. The older girl stood nearby, still holding his coat around her. "They're friends," Daniel said quickly, not wanting Adam to be afraid. "They needed help. We couldn't leave them out there." Adam nodded slowly, his eyes filled with curiosity. He stepped closer to the sofa and looked at the sleeping girl. "She looks tired," he whispered. Daniel crouched down and checked the younger girl's breathing. It was slow but steady. Relief washed over him. He turned to the older one. "What's your name?" She lowered her eyes. "Anna," she said softly. "And this is Lily." "Anna and Lily," Daniel repeated gently. "You're safe here now." Anna looked at him carefully, as if trying to judge whether she could trust his words. Then, with a small sigh, she sat on the edge of the sofa and stroked her sister's hair. Daniel stood and walked to the kitchen, preparing warm tea and bread. His heart was still heavy. He had many questions, but he did not ask yet. He knew they needed rest before anything else. When he came back, Adam was sitting beside Anna, showing her a toy car. Anna smiled faintly, though her eyes were still sad. She accepted the cup of tea with shaking hands, whispering a quiet thank you. The storm outside grew stronger, but inside the small house, a fragile warmth began to spread. Daniel sat across from the children, watching them closely. He could see the exhaustion on their faces, the hunger in their eyes, and the hidden pain they carried. Something inside him shifted that night. He had always been busy with work and raising Adam alone, but now, looking at the two sisters who had been left in the snow, he felt a new sense of responsibility. He didn't know why they had come into his life, but he knew one thing for certain: he could not let them go back into the cold. As Anna finally leaned against the sofa, her eyes closing, Daniel whispered to himself, "Whatever happened to you, I'll protect you now." And for the first time in many winters, Daniel felt that fate had placed something extraordinary at his doorstep. The morning sun entered through the small window, painting the room in a soft golden light. Daniel woke early, as he always did, but that day felt different. His house, usually quiet with only Adam's laughter, now carried the gentle breathing of two extra children. He stepped softly into the living room. On the sofa, Anna was curled beside Lily, her arm protectively around her little sister. Both were still fast asleep, their faces peaceful but pale. The blanket Daniel had given them had slipped a little, so he carefully tucked it back in. For a moment, he just stood there, watching them. It was strange: he had known them for less than a night, yet he already felt a heavy weight of concern for them. In the kitchen, the kettle whistled as Daniel prepared breakfast. The smell of bread and porridge filled the air. Soon Adam came in, rubbing his eyes. "Papa, are they still here?" he asked quietly. Daniel smiled faintly. "Yes. Let them rest. They need it." Adam nodded, then whispered, "They looked really cold last night. Can we keep them here?" Daniel paused. His son's words touched his heart. "For now, yes," he said. "We'll keep them safe." Not long after, Anna stirred. Her eyes opened slowly, blinking at the morning light. She sat up carefully so she wouldn't wake Lily, and when she saw Daniel in the kitchen, she lowered her gaze shyly. "Good morning," Daniel greeted warmly. "You must be hungry." Anna hesitated, then gave a small nod. Her stomach growled, betraying her silence. Daniel served her a bowl of porridge and placed it on the table. She sat down carefully, almost as if she wasn't used to being offered food so easily. She picked up the spoon, and her hands trembled as she took the first bite. "Eat slowly," Daniel said gently. After a few minutes, Lily woke too. She rubbed her eyes and looked around in confusion until she saw Anna beside her. Anna reached out and hugged her tightly. "It's okay, Lily. We're safe." When Daniel placed a small bowl in front of Lily, the little girl's eyes lit up. She began to eat with quiet eagerness, smiling for the first time since Daniel had seen her. Adam joined them at the table, his toy car still in his hand. "I'm Adam," he said proudly. "Do you want to play later?" Lily's eyes sparkled, and she nodded quickly. Anna gave a soft smile, though her face still carried shadows of worry. After breakfast, the children moved to the living room. Adam showed his toy cars, and Lily laughed as he made them race across the floor. Daniel watched from a distance, noticing how quickly Lily seemed to brighten in warmth and safety. Anna, however, stayed quiet, her eyes always scanning the room, as if afraid the safety could disappear at any moment. Daniel sat beside her. "Anna," he said softly, "I won't ask too many questions now. But I need to know, do you have anyone looking for you? Parents, family?" Anna's face turned pale. She lowered her head, and for a moment she did not speak. Then, in a shaky voice, she whispered, "No. It's only us." Her answer pierced Daniel's heart. He wanted to ask more, but he saw the fear in her eyes and decided to wait. Pressing too hard would only close her off further. Instead, he said, "Well, for now, you'll stay here. You don't need to worry. I'll take care of you." Anna looked at him, her lips parting as if she wanted to speak but didn't know how. Finally, she whispered, "Thank you." The rest of the day passed gently. Lily and Adam played outside in the small yard, building little piles of snow, while Anna stayed close to the door, watching them carefully. Daniel worked quietly inside, repairing a broken chair, but every now and then his eyes wandered to the children. There was something healing in their laughter. As evening came, Daniel cooked a simple stew. The girls joined him and Adam at the table again. The warmth of the food, the light of the small lamp, and the closeness of the four of them made the house feel alive in a way Daniel had not felt in years. After dinner, Daniel noticed Anna yawning but trying to stay awake. "You can sleep in Adam's room tonight," he offered kindly. "He'll share his bed. I'll sleep here on the sofa." Anna looked uncertain, but Adam clapped his hands. "Yes. You can sleep in my room. It's warmer there." With some hesitation, Anna agreed. She carried Lily into the room, and Adam proudly showed them his little blanket fort and the stars painted on his ceiling. Lily giggled in delight. Soon, the children were all lying down, and their soft whispers faded into quiet breathing. Daniel sat alone in the living room, staring at the flickering lamp. His mind was restless. Who were these sisters really? Why were they left in the snow? He could feel there was a bigger story hidden in their silence. But at the same time, his heart told him one thing clearly: no matter what, he could not let them suffer again. That night, as the snow fell gently outside, Daniel whispered to himself, "Maybe this is the beginning of something I was meant to find." And in the room next door, 3 children slept side by side, unaware that their lives had just begun to change forever. The next morning, the sound of children's laughter filled the small house. Daniel, who was fixing a leaky pipe in the kitchen, paused and listened. It was Adam and Lily, running from one corner of the room to the other, their feet light on the wooden floor. The sound warmed his heart. Anna, however, was quieter. She sat by the window, her eyes lost in thought. She held one of Adam's toy cars in her hand, but she was not playing. Instead, she stared outside, where the snow was still falling slowly. Her face carried the weight of something unspoken. Daniel noticed. Wiping his hands, he walked over and sat beside her. "You're very quiet today," he said gently. Anna nodded but did not speak at first. She clutched the toy car tightly. Finally, she whispered, "It feels strange, being here. Warm. Safe." Daniel leaned back in his chair. He understood more from her few words than she realized. "Sometimes strange can be good," he said softly. "Sometimes it means you've found something new." Her lips curved into a tiny smile, but it faded quickly. She lowered her head and murmured, "We didn't always have this." Daniel's heart tightened. He wanted to ask more, but he knew he had to be patient. Children opened their hearts like fragile doors, Forcing them only made the door close forever. Later that afternoon, Anna followed him into the kitchen while Lily and Adam were busy drawing with colored pencils. She stood silently for a moment, her small hands pressed together. Daniel waited. He knew she wanted to say something. Finally, she whispered, "Our mother, she's gone." Daniel turned slowly to her, his eyes gentle. "I see," he said quietly. Anna swallowed hard. Her eyes glistened, but she held back her tears. "It happened last year. After that, things were not the same. People said they would help us, but they didn't. They only wanted things from us." Her voice shook. "We left because it wasn't safe anymore." Daniel felt a heavy ache in his chest. Two little girls, alone in the world, carrying pain no child should know. He crouched down so his eyes were level with hers. "I'm sorry you went through that. No one should." Anna blinked, and a single tear slid down her cheek. Daniel carefully handed her a cloth to wipe it. She took it and whispered, "I promised Mama I would protect Lily. I won't let anyone take her away." Her words struck Daniel deeply. She was only 10, yet she carried the heart of a guardian. He placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "You've done well. You're strong, Anna. But you don't have to do this alone anymore. I'll help you protect her." For the first time, Anna looked at him with something more than fear or worry. She looked at him with trust, though faint and fragile. That evening, Daniel noticed how Anna's story weighed on him. After putting the children to bed, he sat at the small table with a cup of tea, staring at the steam. His thoughts were troubled. He wondered what kind of danger the girls had faced. And why were they left in the snow that night? There were still pieces missing, pieces Anna had not yet spoken. But even without all the answers, he knew one thing for certain: he could not let them go back to a life of pain. The next day, Daniel decided to take the children for a walk in town. He wanted them to feel normal, to see that life could be simple and kind. Adam held Lily's hand proudly, showing her the bakery with its warm smells, while Anna walked close to Daniel, her eyes scanning every face that passed. In the bakery, the shopkeeper, Mrs. Green, looked at the girls curiously. "New friends, Daniel?" she asked. Daniel smiled. "Yes. Just helping them for a while." Mrs. Green's kind eyes softened as she handed Lily a small pastry for free. Lily's face lit up in joy, and Anna whispered a shy thank you. But as they left the shop, Daniel noticed something. Anna had stiffened, her eyes fixed on a man across the street. He was tall, wearing a dark coat, and he seemed to pause when he saw them. Anna quickly turned away, pulling Lily closer. Daniel's heart raced. He looked at the man, but the stranger walked off into the crowd. That night, when the children were in bed, Daniel thought about it again. Who was that man? Why had Anna reacted with such fear? There was more to their story than Anna had told him. And now, a quiet worry began to grow inside him. What if someone was indeed searching for them? Still, when he checked on the children before sleeping, he felt calm for a moment. Lily was snuggled against Anna, her little face peaceful. Anna, even in sleep, held her sister close. Daniel whispered in the dark, "No matter who comes, I'll stand in front of them." He didn't know that soon, his words would be tested. And the life he thought was ordinary would be pulled into something far bigger than he could imagine. The days that followed passed more gently than Daniel had expected. The house, once quiet with only Adam's footsteps, was now alive with the sound of 3 children. Laughter echoed in the small rooms, and even the coldest corners of winter seemed warmer with their voices filling the air. Lily, with her bright smile, quickly grew attached to Adam. The two played from morning till evening, building small forts with blankets, racing toy cars across the wooden floor, and drawing pictures with colored pencils. Adam, who had always been a little lonely without a mother, now had a constant companion by his side. Anna, though, remained watchful. She never let Lily wander too far, and her eyes carried a seriousness beyond her age. Even when she smiled, Daniel could see the shadow behind it. She was only 10, yet she behaved as if the world rested on her shoulders. One evening, after dinner, Daniel noticed Anna folding the blankets neatly. "You don't have to do that," he said kindly. Anna shook her head. "We should help. You've done too much already." Daniel smiled faintly. Helping doesn't always mean paying back. Sometimes it just means living without fear. Anna looked at him silently for a moment, as if weighing his words. Then she gave a small nod and continued her task. One afternoon, Daniel decided to take the children to the frozen pond near the edge of town. It was a place where families gathered in winter, skating and laughing together. Adam had been asking for days, and Daniel thought it might help Anna and Lily feel like ordinary children again. The pond was surrounded by tall trees, their branches heavy with snow. Small fires burned at the sides where families warmed their hands. The children's laughter filled the air, carrying a cheer that Daniel hadn't heard in a long time. Adam held Lily's hand as they stepped onto the ice carefully. She wobbled, her face scrunching in concentration, but Adam encouraged her with a big smile. Soon, her laughter rang out as she slid slowly, holding tightly to him. Daniel sat on the bench, watching them. Anna sat beside him, her eyes following her sister. Her lips curved into the smallest of smiles when Lily let out a squeal of joy. "They're happy," Daniel said softly. Anna nodded. "Lily hasn't laughed like that in a long time." Daniel turned his head toward her. "And you? Do you ever laugh?" Anna lowered her eyes. "I forgot how." Her words hit him deeply. He wanted to tell her she was still a child, that laughter should come easily to her. But he knew words alone could not change her heart. So instead, he said gently, "Maybe you'll remember again." "No rush." For a brief moment, Anna's eyes met his, and he saw a flicker of trust. That night, after the children had fallen asleep, Daniel sat by the window, staring at the snowy street. His thoughts were troubled again. The memory of the man in the dark coat haunted him. He wondered if danger was quietly circling around them, waiting for the right moment. He heard footsteps. Turning, he saw Anna in the doorway, holding a blanket around her. "Couldn't sleep?" Daniel asked softly. Anna shook her head. She walked over slowly and sat near him. The street light outside lit her face, and for once, she looked less guarded. "Daniel," she whispered, "if someone comes looking for us, will you send us away?" The question pierced him. He leaned forward, his voice steady. "No, Anna. I won't send you away. Whoever comes, I'll stand in front of you." Her small hands clutched the blanket tighter. For a moment, she didn't speak. Then, in a trembling voice, she whispered, "People say promises are easy. But they don't keep them." Daniel's chest tightened. "You're right. Promises are easy. But keeping them, that's what shows who you are. And I keep mine." For the first time, Anna let out a shaky breath, almost like a sigh of relief. Her eyes softened, and though she didn't smile, Daniel knew something inside her had shifted. The next few days passed with a fragile peace. The children grew closer, and even Anna began to join their games sometimes. She laughed just once when Lily painted a silly face on Adam's drawing. The sound was brief, but Daniel caught it, and it stayed with him like a spark of hope. Yet the shadow of danger still lingered. Daniel noticed strangers in town watching a little too closely, whispers carried in the marketplace, and once, a black car parked near the street for longer than it should. He told himself not to worry the children. But deep inside, he knew their quiet days might not last forever. One evening, as he tucked the children into bed, Anna held his sleeve for a moment. "Thank you," she said softly. Her eyes, though tired, carried something new: trust. Daniel smiled gently. "Sleep now. Tomorrow will be better." But as he closed the door to their room, his thoughts grew heavier. Tomorrow might not be better. Tomorrow might bring the very storm he feared. And somewhere beyond the snow-covered streets, forces were already moving, forces that would soon knock on his door and test every word he had promised. The snow had stopped, but the air outside was still cold and sharp. Inside Daniel's small house, warmth filled the rooms. The children were playing with wooden blocks, their laughter rising and falling like music. Daniel, sitting at the table with a cup of tea, tried to focus on the peaceful moment. But peace never lasts forever. That afternoon, a knock came at the door. It was firm, heavy, and unlike the light tapping of neighbors. Daniel stood quickly, his heart uneasy. Anna froze where she sat, her hands tightening around Lily. Fear flashed in her eyes, and Daniel knew instantly this was not just any visitor. He opened the door carefully. Standing outside was a tall man in a long black coat. His face was sharp, his hair touched with gray, and his dark eyes searched the house quickly. Behind him stood two other men in suits, but it was clear who was in charge. "Daniel Reed?" the man asked in a low, commanding voice. "Yes," Daniel answered cautiously. The man's gaze shifted past him, landing on Anna and Lily. His expression, which had been cold, suddenly changed. His eyes widened, and for a moment, his strong posture faltered. He stepped forward, his voice shaking. "Anna." "Lily." Anna grabbed Lily and pulled her close. "Don't come near us," she whispered sharply. The man's face twisted with pain. "It's me, it's Uncle Richard." Daniel looked at Anna, confused. "You know him?" Anna's eyes filled with tears, but she shook her head quickly. "No. We don't want him. He doesn't care about us." The man Richard turned his eyes to Daniel. His voice was heavy. "I need to speak with you. Please." Daniel stepped outside with him, closing the door to keep the children safe. Snow crunched under their feet as they stood in the yard. Richard spoke first. "You don't know who I am. I am Richard Hale, CEO of Hale Enterprises." His tone carried the weight of power and authority, yet his eyes were full of something else: regret. "Those girls, they are my nieces. My brother's children." Daniel's breath caught. The pieces of the puzzle began to shift, but the picture was still unclear. If that's true, why were they left in the snow? Why were they freezing, with no one to care for them? Richard's shoulders stiffened. For the first time, the powerful CEO looked like a broken man. "I failed them," he admitted, his voice cracking. "After their mother passed, I was supposed to take them in. I thought I could give them a life of safety. But I let others handle it. People I trusted betrayed me. The girls ran away, and I couldn't find them. I searched everywhere. His hand trembled slightly. When I saw them just now, I almost couldn't believe it. Daniel studied him carefully. There was truth in Richard's eyes, but also guilt, a guilt so deep it nearly drowned him. They don't trust you, Daniel said quietly. And I can see why. Richard closed his eyes, his breath shaking. I don't expect them to forgive me. But I can't leave them again. Please, let me explain to them. Let me try. Daniel thought of Anna's trembling voice, her promise to protect Lily. He thought of the fear that flashed in her eyes at the sight of this man. Could he risk breaking the fragile trust she had given him? Still, he knew the girls deserved the truth. Fine, he said firmly. But you speak gently. If you hurt them again, I won't forgive you. Richard nodded, his eyes wet. I understand. When they stepped back inside, the room grew heavy with silence. Anna stood in front of Lily, her arms spread as if to shield her. Richard's voice broke as he spoke. Anna. Lily. I am your uncle. I should have been there when your mother was gone. I should have taken you into my home. But I was blind, and I let others make choices I should never have allowed. Tears filled Anna's eyes, but anger burned in her voice. You left us. You knew we were alone. Richard dropped to his knees on the wooden floor, his powerful presence forgotten. You're right, he said, tears streaming down his face. I left you in the hands of people who didn't love you. I thought money and houses would be enough. But I didn't see the truth until it was too late. His voice cracked. I failed your mother. I failed both of you. And if you hate me, I will carry that forever. The children stared at him. Lily clung to Anna's arm, whispering, Is he really? Uncle. Anna's lips trembled. She wanted to say no, to protect her sister from more hurt. But deep inside, she remembered faint images of a man who had once visited with gentle gifts and warm smiles. Her heart ached with confusion. Richard's tears fell onto the wooden floor. All I ask is a chance. Let me protect you now. Please. The silence stretched. Daniel stood by the wall, watching, his fists clenched with quiet strength. He was ready to step in if the girls needed him. But he also knew this was a moment only they could choose. Anna's eyes filled with tears, her chest rising and falling with heavy breaths. She whispered, I don't know if we can trust you. Richard nodded slowly. Then I will wait. As long as it takes. I won't leave again. The powerful CEO, who had faced boardrooms and decisions worth millions, now knelt in a small house, crying before two little girls. And for the first time, Daniel realized this story was not just about survival. It was about broken hearts trying to heal. The fire in the small stove crackled softly, but the air inside Daniel's house was thick with silence. Richard, the powerful CEO, was still kneeling on the floor, his face wet with tears. The children stared at him, their small hearts torn between fear and memory. Anna held Lily tightly. Her lips trembled, but her eyes were firm. If you cared, why didn't you come sooner? Why did you let us suffer? Richard pressed his hands against the floor, his shoulders shaking. Because I was a coward, he admitted, his voice breaking. I thought I was protecting you by keeping you far from the storms of my world. I told myself you were safe. But I was wrong. I wasn't there when you needed me most. Lily peeked at him from behind Anna's arm. Her little voice whispered, I remember, you gave me a doll once. Mama said you loved us. Richard's face crumpled. Yes, Lily. I loved you then. I love you now. And I will love you forever. But I lost my way. I let work, power, and pride blind me. By the time I opened my eyes, you were gone. Anna's tears fell, though she tried to hide them. We were cold. We were hungry. I had to keep Lily safe. I thought no one cared. Not even you. Richard reached out a trembling hand but stopped midway, afraid to scare her. His voice was full of sorrow. You were braver than I ever was. You carried a weight that belonged to me, not you. I should have been the one to protect you. Daniel, standing nearby, felt his chest tighten. He had seen many kinds of pain, but nothing like this. A man with everything, brought to his knees by guilt, and 2 children too young to carry such scars. Anna, Daniel said softly, breaking the silence, he is not asking you to forget. He is asking you to let him try again. Anna looked at Daniel, her eyes pleading. But what if he leaves again? What if he breaks Lily's heart this time? Daniel crouched beside her, his voice steady. Then I will be here. I promise you, I won't let anyone hurt you again. Anna's small shoulders shook. She buried her face in Lily's hair, torn between anger and the faint memory of kindness. Richard lowered his head. His tears dripped onto the wooden floor. I don't deserve forgiveness, he whispered. But I beg you, let me protect you now. Give me a chance to do what I should have done from the beginning. For a long time, no one spoke. The sound of the fire filled the silence. Finally, Lily slipped out of Anna's arms and walked toward Richard. Her tiny steps echoed in the room. She stopped in front of him, her wide eyes full of innocence. Gently, she touched his face with her small hand. Are you really our uncle? She asked. Richard's breath hitched. He covered her hand with his own, nodding as tears ran freely down his cheeks. Yes, little one. I am. And I'm so sorry. Lily's eyes softened. She wrapped her arms around his neck. I missed you. Richard let out a sob, holding her carefully, as if she were the most fragile treasure in the world. Anna, watching the scene, felt her chest ache. She wanted to stay angry, to protect herself and her sister from being hurt again. But when she saw Lily smile for the first time in months, her heart wavered. Anna, Richard's voice shook as he looked at her over Lily's shoulder. I know you don't trust me. I don't blame you. But please, let me earn it back. Anna wiped her tears roughly. I don't forgive you. Not yet. But if Lily wants to see you, I won't stop her. Richard bowed his head, accepting her words with humility. That's more than I deserve. Thank you. Daniel stepped forward, placing a steady hand on Anna's shoulder. You're strong. You don't have to forgive quickly. Take your time. Anna leaned into Daniel slightly, her tired body seeking comfort. For so long she had carried the role of protector alone. Now, she realized, she didn't have to carry it all by herself anymore. Later that night, after the children had gone to bed, Daniel sat with Richard at the table. The CEO's face was pale, his eyes red from crying. You're different from the man I imagined, Daniel said quietly. Richard gave a sad smile. Most people see me in fine suits, sitting in tall buildings, making decisions with money and power. But the truth? I'm just a man who lost the only family that mattered. I thought wealth would keep me strong, But tonight I learned what real strength looks like. Two little girls who survived without me. Daniel studied him for a moment. If you really want to be in their lives again, you'll have to prove it. Not with money. With patience. With love. Richard nodded, his voice firm through the tears. Then I'll do it. No matter how long it takes. As the night deepened, the storm inside the small house slowly softened. Pain still lingered, but hope had begun to spark. Anna lay awake beside Lily, staring at the ceiling. She still did not trust her uncle, but she could no longer deny the truth: his tears were real. And in another room, Richard sat silently, whispering to himself, "I won't fail them again." For the first time in years, his tears were not for lost power, not for lost pride, but for the only family his heart had ever truly longed for. The morning sun filtered gently through the curtains, warming the small house. The snow outside had melted into soft streams along the streets, and the air smelled of fresh beginnings. Inside, laughter filled the rooms once again, but this time, it carried a sense of calm and hope. Anna stirred first, stretching her small arms. She looked at Lily, who was still asleep, her little chest rising and falling softly. For the first time in a long while, Anna felt safe enough to smile, not a timid one, but a real, quiet smile. Daniel came into the room with a tray of breakfast. Adam followed, bouncing on his heels, carrying a small vase with a few wildflowers he had picked from the yard. "Good morning, everyone," he said cheerfully. Anna and Lily sat up, eyes wide, as Daniel set the bowls of porridge and fruit on the table. Even the simplest food felt like a celebration after months of hunger and cold. "Eat slowly," Daniel said gently. "We have the whole day." Just then, Richard appeared at the door. He looked different, less like the powerful CEO the world knew and more like a man who had faced his own failings and wanted to make them right. He held a small box in his hands. For a moment, Anna tensed, unsure of what to do. She glanced at Lily, who reached for her hand, and then at Daniel, who gave her a reassuring nod. Richard knelt down in front of Anna and Lily. "I brought something," he said softly. "It's small, but it's from me, to both of you." He opened the box carefully. Inside were two small silver pendants, each shaped like a tiny heart. "For protection," Richard said. "To remind you that I am here. And I will not leave again." Anna's eyes widened. Lily gasped, her little hands reaching for the pendant. Slowly, Anna took hers, feeling the cool metal in her palm. Something inside her shifted. Perhaps it was hope, or perhaps it was trust beginning to bloom. "Thank you," Anna whispered, her voice soft but steady. Richard nodded. "No need to thank me yet. Just, let me show you I can be there for you, every day." The day passed gently. Daniel watched as the children played together in the yard. Lily ran across the grass, laughing as Adam chased her, while Anna, though more reserved, joined in at times. She laughed once when Lily tumbled softly onto the ground, and Daniel caught the sound, holding it close in his heart. Richard stayed nearby, quietly observing, ready to step in if needed. He did not force the girls to come near him, instead, he showed them patience. He helped Daniel in small tasks, carried firewood, and even fixed a squeaky door hinge in the kitchen. Every small act spoke louder than words. As evening fell, Daniel suggested a walk through the small park near the pond. The children bundled up, their cheeks rosy from the cold air. Richard walked a few steps behind, giving Anna and Lily space, but staying close enough to be seen. Anna glanced at him once and noticed his careful, respectful distance. Slowly, her heart softened. She realized that he was not trying to force his way into their lives, he was letting them choose. At the edge of the pond, Adam, Lily, and Anna threw small pebbles onto the ice, laughing as they watched the ripples. Richard knelt nearby, watching with a mixture of sorrow and joy. For the first time in many months, he felt like he was part of something real, something worth protecting. Daniel stood beside him, quiet. "You're doing well," he said. Richard looked at him, eyes glistening. "I hope so. I want them to know, they can trust me." Daniel nodded. "Trust is not given lightly. But if you keep showing it, they will." Night came softly. The children, exhausted from the day's play, lay together in Adam's room. Anna still held Lily close, but her mind was lighter. She felt a small spark of hope for the first time in a long while, a hope that the cold and darkness of the past could be replaced by warmth and love. Richard sat in the living room, staring at the small family through the doorway. His chest ached with emotion, but this time, it was not only sorrow, it was determination. He whispered softly to himself, "I will not fail again. I will protect them, no matter what." Daniel, sitting nearby, poured himself a cup of tea. He looked at Richard, then at the sleeping children, and felt a quiet pride. What had begun as a night of fear and loss had now grown into the possibility of healing and new beginnings. For Anna and Lily, the road ahead would not be easy. Trust would take time. But for the first time, they were not alone. They had Daniel, who had taken them in without hesitation, Adam, who had welcomed them with open arms, and Richard, whose tears had shown the depth of his love and regret. Outside, the snow had melted into gentle streams, and the moon rose over the town, casting a soft glow on the quiet streets. Inside the small house, 3 children slept peacefully, a single father watched over them, and a man who had once failed now vowed to protect what he held most dear. And for the first time in a long time, the house was truly a home.